Direct and indirect causes of unhappiness. The direct cause of unhappiness is the presence of a disempowering thought, a disempowering perspective that changes your polarity from positive to negative. The indirect cause of unhappiness is the presence of a situation or condition which is polarity neutral but interpreted by you as polarity negative. You have interpreted your conditions as unfavorable. We are not designed to hold a negative polarity, to hold a negative charge. Our natural polarity is that of a positive polarity. Whenever we have a thought that is disempowering, whenever we have a perspective that is disempowering, our whole system rebels against this. We open our circuits and electromagnetic energy cannot complete their loop in our system, resulting in life force energy leaking and not flowing to us. We think that only a virus or a bacteria is a threat to our well-being and that a disempowering perspective is not a threat. On the contrary, a disempowering thought, a disempowering perspective poses a serious threat to our well-being, so much so that our system will go into shock as we will experience loss of appetite, lack of energy, feelings of unhappiness, lethargy, loss of motivation, etc. 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 A disempowering thought, a disempowering perspective is detrimental to our well-being. It is worth repeating this statement 100 times. Do not underestimate the power of a disempowering thought, a disempowering perspective to weaken our well-being. When you feel good, you use the term I am on top of the world, or I am on cloud 9, or I feel elated, or I am in 7 heaven, or I feel as if I am soaring, or I feel high, etc. 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 It appears that when you are happy, you are not affected by the gravitational pull exerted by planet Earth. When you feel lousy, you use the term I am depressed, or I feel tired, or I feel sick, or I have no energy, etc. 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 The word depress means to press down. The language and imagery that we used are very appropriate. To press down has the same meaning as to be pulled down, to be held captive, to be restrained, to be pulled down by the gravitational pull of planet Earth. It is as if something has clipped your wings and prevented you from flying high, from soaring high into the atmosphere. You are depressed not because of conditions, you are depressed because of your disempowering thought, because of your disempowering perspective which weighs 1,000,000 tons. No wonder you feel depressed, heavy and lacking in energy. The worst part is that a virus or bacteria attacks us from outside, whereas a disempowering thought or disempowering perspective attacks us as a result of our own activity. We are the ones that are attacking our own system. I hope you begin to understand why you should never ever have a disempowering thought, a disempowering perspective from now on if you truly love yourself and if your well-being is important to you. The direct cause of happiness is the absence of a disempowering thought, the absence of a disempowering perspective, keeping our polarity positive. The indirect cause of happiness is the presence of a situation or condition which is polarity neutral but interpreted by you as polarity positive. You have interpreted your conditions as favorable. Let me summarize the important points for today's topic. The direct cause of unhappiness is the presence of a negative polarity. The indirect cause of unhappiness is the presence of a polarity neutral condition which you have interpreted as negative, as unfavorable. The direct cause of happiness is the presence of a positive polarity. The indirect cause of happiness is the presence of a polarity neutral condition which you have interpreted as positive, as favorable. All conditions are polarity neutral. You are the one that interprets these conditions as favorable or unfavorable. I repeat, you are the one that interprets these conditions as favorable or unfavorable. Why not interpret all conditions, all situations as favorable? After all, no one is pointing a gun to your head to force you to interpret all conditions as unfavorable. Is the cause of your unhappiness conditions, or is the cause of your unhappiness your disempowering interpretations of your conditions? Did I see a light bulb in your head lighting up? Did you just experience an aha moment? The following is a story you may have heard. A farmer and his son had a stallion who helped the family earn a living. One day, The horse ran away and their neighbors exclaimed, "Your horse ran away! What terrible luck!" The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We will see." A few days later, the horse returned home, leading a few mares back to the farm. The neighbors shouted, "Your horse has returned," and brought several horses home with him. "What great luck!" The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We will see." Later that week, the farmer's son was trying to ride one of the mares, but she threw him to the ground, breaking his leg. The villagers cried, "Your son broke his leg. What terrible luck!" The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We will see." A few weeks later, soldiers from the National Army marched through town, recruiting all the able-bodied boys for the army. They did not take the farmer's son, who is still recovering from his injury. Friends shouted, "Your boy is spared. What tremendous luck!" To which the farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We will see." I mentioned the above story to emphasize my point that all events, situations, conditions are polarity neutral. It is our interpretation that determines whether they are negative or positive. The farmer is non-committal, maybe because from his experience, it is too early to determine whether something is a blessing or a curse. You do not have to be non-committal. Why? Because you know what I know, that conditions are echoes generated by the sounds, by the vibes, by the vibrations that we generate. We are not victims of circumstances. We are the masters. We are the one that makes the echoes present or absent. Knowledge is power. Put your knowledge into practice, so that the knowledge you have acquired is not just theory. Put your knowledge into practice so that you can soar into the atmosphere, so that you can lift your spirits under any and all conditions, when conditions are interpreted by you are favorable and when conditions interpreted by you are not favorable. Who interprets an event or circumstances as favorable? The answer is you. Who interprets an event or circumstances as unfavorable? The answer is you. You hold the key because only you have the power to interpret any situation you are experiencing to your advantage. Herein lies the secret to your happiness and to your well-being. Self-Mastery International. The 20th of April 2020, 0900 hours.